Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of AI on the Edge. I'm Amar Kanagaraj, founder CEO of Protecto. This episode will run around 30 to 40 minutes. We won't have time for audience questions. So if you have thoughts or questions, please drop them on the LinkedIn thread. We'll get to it. Today, we have a special guest, Manoj Mohan. Manoj Mohan is a seasoned engineering leader with expertise building large scale software, data, and AI platforms. Manoj has led global teams building resilience platforms across top names in Silicon Valley, including Intuit, Meta, and Apple. He specializes in modernizing data stack, scaling AI ML platforms, and architecting cloud native systems that supports billions of transactions today. Manoj brings a rare blend of deep technical knowledge and a sharp product strategy. With that, welcome, Manoj. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amar, for a warm introduction. Super excited for our conversation. Look forward to the discussion today.
Okay, let's start with a quick icebreaker.
Okay.
So, of all the news that comes every day, we get thousands of news about AI. What is the recent news you're excited about, and why are you excited about it?
Okay, great question. I would say the most recent one is OpenAI Pulse. I think it was a long overdue feature in my opinion. I think, now ChatGPT kind of takes it up as its homework and gives you a feed of things that you are interested in. Every day morning, you can schedule it. So I look forward to seeing how Pulse is going to improve my productivity.
Oh, fantastic. So, with that, let's go into the bulk of the topic. So let's start with what does it truly mean to be AI native? What does mean to be AI native builder today? Love to get your thoughts on that, Manoj.
Yeah. So great question. So if I think about AI native, the parallels I see is almost like a mobile first revolution that we saw probably a decade back. What do I mean by that? I think it's not about bolting AI as an afterthought into your existing product or into your existing user experience. It is
Mhm.
more about designing your products, your teams, and your infrastructure with the assumption that AI is going to be a core part of the DNA. Let me try and add some color to it. The way I would think about it from an organization standpoint would be a couple of different, layers to it. First one I would say is mindset.
Mhm.
If you like for an existing team, the team should not be thinking about can I add AI into this existing workflow? I think that's a
Mhm.
wrong question to think about it. The right
Mhm.
question or the right way to frame it would be how would AI reshape this entire user experience if we were to build it ground up, right? That would be the right question and the right mindset to think about how AI can deliver value for you. So that's one.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Second one I would say is the tech stack, right?
Mhm.
Just like for the mobile first apps a decade back, all of them required responsive design, all of them required new lightweight APIs and mobile friendly APIs and things like that. So similarly, for AI native products, I would say there are a bunch of different things that you should think about. One, I would say, is data pipelines. Two, I would say, is vector data stores for embedding and things like that. And three is feedback loops built in. And along with it, I would also emphasize about the platform-centric mindset. Now, what do I mean by
Yeah,
platform-centric mindset? You don't want to build AI thinking about one feature at a time. You have
true.
to proactively think a little bit more about what are all the shared ingredients that are going to increase the odds of your AI being successful. So it would include, data pipes, it would include all the guardrails, the evaluation harness, and things like that you have to think. And once you start investing in that, your second or the third or the fourth AI feature is going to become a lot more faster for you to deliver as an outcome for the organization. So that's the benefit with platform centric mindset. And the last one I would say is culture. Every organization thrives with their culture and their values. So,
Mm,
how do you inculcate a boundaryless culture where engineers, designers, or product managers or researchers, all of them can sit together and collaborate on a prototype with AI co-pilots from day one? And the one way to think about it, or one example I can quote is, if let's say you have a designer who's waiting on a product manager to come up with
mm,
extensive market research or a product market fit, I would say,
mm.
you're already falling behind because you've not structured your organization to move with velocity.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you
Interesting.
will have to kind of make some tweaks, when you're thinking about AI native culture. So that's how I see it. So in summary, if I were to,
Well,
yeah,
mhm.
go ahead.
So, the last point you said about culture, if you could also connect it with your first point, you said something about how do you approach a problem, right? Don't approach it as a, hey, where can I fit AI?
Yeah.
Versus what experience should I redesign or improve for my customer or for my employees? Start from there. And this and culture are very closely tied in my mind. So if you could connect that with some examples, that would be great, Manoj.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll share something from how we used to operate at Intuit, right?
Right.
So one thing is every problem statement that we
Mhm,
evaluate, be it a
mhm,
technology decision, be it a product workflow, the way
mhm.
we would start with is, what is the pain point that we are trying to
True.
solve for or eliminate for that particular user persona, right? We are either solving it for a customer, we are either solving it for an engineer, internal engineer, external engineer, and
True.
things like that. So for that particular user persona, what is the problem statement? And how do we define, or how do we quantify how big of a problem statement it is? So you have a metric or a KPI that you use to measure how big of a pain point it is. And then how do you define a North Star metric on either eliminating that pain point or decreasing it, right?
Right. Right.
A simple example could be, let's say if your organization has a developer onboarding process, and let's say if it takes a couple of days for a developer to be onboarded, how can you potentially change it more in along the lines of onboarding in a few minutes, right?
True.
So that's how we evaluate. That's the lens. So you always start with a customer centric or a user centric problem statement. you
Yes.
you baseline where you stand today, you define a North Star metric, and then you figure out what is the right solve. And that right solve could include AI, could not include AI, could be something else, right? So that's the lens with which we try and solve for it. Does that answer?
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. I sorry cut you off when you are summarizing. Finish your thought on that.
No worries. I was just saying that, the essence of it is, when you think about AI native culture or AI native team, you're thinking about building with the right mindset, with the right set of stack and the right culture, so that you're able to treat AI as a first class citizen, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Recently, I'll just add an anecdote. One of the customers we met, they gave this analogy. If you were making candles a century back, when there a century and a half back, without there is no electricity, and the electricity comes on, and you shouldn't think I can build now 5,000 candles per day instead of 2,000 candles per day. You should be thinking about building light bulbs for the electricity, not incrementally where can I fit AI to improve, and more ground up, think what can it enable and do from what pain points can I remove for my customers and my employees. That's the starting point. Yeah, that totally makes sense. That's the origin of the AI implementation a company should be. So in that process, you define, hey, these are the different parts of AI native culture as AI native builder means. What are some of the underrated skills or roles in that AI native team, right? Could you explain that? Any examples you can throw? That'll help.
Yeah, yeah. So, I don't think it is only about certain roles being underrated.
Mm,
I also think it is like the definition of your existing role rubric or
mm,
job description, as well as the team structure itself needs to be evaluated a little bit more holistically. Okay. And one other nugget I would say is, and this is my personal opinion,
mm,
I think the single dimensional roles are going to become
mm.
far and few or become less prevalent, as we see more and more of the AI transformation that happens. What do I mean by a single dimensional role? An engineer performing or acting only as a data engineer or
Interesting.
only as a data scientist or only as a backend engineer. I think that's going to become less prevalent in my opinion. And in an AI native team, I think the best of the value that you can create would be at the seams of the intersection of varied set of skills. Bringing in the right blend of product or product development, user experience, AI background, and data, all of this coming together. And if you get the right blend of these expertise, I think teams as well as engineers will thrive better. Now, let me quote an example like you were asking.
Mm,
Uh,
mm.
and I call this as a multi-dimensional builder or a multi-dimensional engineer. Okay, and so an example I would quote is, so let's say, and let's say the engineer, I'm putting that engineer as an AI product engineer as the job category. Okay,
Right, right.
an ideal AI product engineer should be able to one frame the user problem with with
Yeah.
the right lens of the pain point.
Uh,
Two,
yeah.
to build a few mock workflows. Three, think through and come up with a right model, be it an LLM, be it an SLM, whatever. Four,
Hmm.
fine tune the workflow for a right fit AI approach. And five,
Hmm.
you're also able to orchestrate a data pipeline and build some of the eval harness for measurements and things like that. And a single AI product engineer should be able to take all of these four or five different tasks and be able to launch it as an MVP in a scrappy mode in a reasonable amount of time, right?
Mm.
So
Makes sense.
that's where I see the value is going to be so much more powerful. Now imagine the statement that I made earlier.
All right.
If your team is structured with single dimensional roles where a
Mm.
data engineer is waiting for a product manager to give a requirement, or
All right.
a data engineer is waiting for a data scientist to explain what are the features to be built for required for that model. If you've structured along those lines, you've already created a bottleneck in terms of the velocity with which you can launch AI product capabilities, right?
So true. So
So,
true.
so in
Yeah.
that sense, you have to, it's almost like a paradigm shift that we are talking about. And you have to enable that paradigm shift for your organization to truly accelerate on that AI journey.
So what you're saying is, hey, don't think we are my product manager. I have to wait for my development team to do something, my data team to build a pipeline. Hey, I will build an MVP or end-to-end a workflow or an agent, and I can deploy, show value, then build on based on that. So you have to develop skills now to how to evaluate LLM, how to bring the data in, how to do a simple MVP, how to evaluate the results. All those things. Your product manager is not just a product manager with a PowerPoint and with a Gantt chart. So you are going to do a lot more, and that can I can see it can. This is how startups operate. If you
Yeah.
think about it, in a startup, you get to do many things. That's how you move fast, right? So you can go to from idea to a product and a customer value quickly. Similar capabilities AI can bring you, but your organizationally you have to change. You cannot have this powerful AI, but you silo your responsibilities across different functions. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. This is very insightful. Let me go to the next question, which is when you see these enterprises implement AI, right? And they're trying to implement, it's not just POC when they're trying to scale it, right? So they're looking at AI, they're looking at identified opportunities. Now they have to implement and scale it. What are the common pitfalls? Do you have any frameworks how to think about scaling AI inside enterprises? What are the different factors, and how should we think about the scaling enterprise AI?
Yeah, and I think this is a very, very popular topic. I think post the MIT article where it
That's
states.
so true. That's so true. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a very valid question. So, in my opinion, I think most enterprise AI failures are not because the models are bad or the
Hmm.
models are not, latest and greatest. The,
Hmm.
the majority of those failures are because everything around the model, in terms of the guardrails, in terms of all the measurement or the monitoring, in terms of the data quality, in terms of launching it successfully with the right data sources being learned upon or trained upon, right? All of that, I think the bells and whistles around the model for that ecosystem to thrive is what I think translates to a lot of enterprise AI pitfalls, in most organizations. And if I add some color to it,
Yeah.
like most organizations think of it like launching a shiny demo, right? They're all eager to showcase a value add as a shiny demo, and they're not thinking about all of those bells and whistles. Similarly, the quality of data, right? I think you might be using a model that is fairly seasoned, not the latest and greatest, but it could still give you a ton of value if your data quality is aligned or is cleansed, data is cleansed and enriched, removing the anomalies and things like that. Now, so that's how I see it. And to your question around frameworks,
Yeah.
um, I do have a framework that I, talk about. I call it as the 3GF framework. It's
Hmm.
easily remembered as three great factors. So,
Okay. That's good.
yeah. So the three G's stand
Uh-huh.
for ground it, guard it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
govern it. And
Hmm.
in your enterprise landscape, if you
Right.
do these three things right, then
Hmm.
your enterprise AI will give you fair, fast, and faithful outcomes. So that's the three F's and the three G's. Let me
Fantastic.
let me
Yeah.
explain it. So
Hmm.
grounding it, right?
Yeah.
So when your AI is generating output, all of those outcomes or outputs should be tied to a clean, trustworthy, reliable source of truth. And
Hmm.
you should not leave the user baffled with the user having to guess as to why did AI give me this outcome. Instead, you should actually let the models cite the evidence based on which source gave AI the reason for that particular outcome, right? So if you're unable to support the AI outcome with the right citation,
Hmm.
you're better off stating that I don't know, because the most valuable thing, in my opinion, is the trust of the user, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
at any cost, you should not lose the trust of the user. So you're better off saying, I don't know for a particular scenario, and building in a feedback loop as to what fraction of your queries you're running into an I don't know kind of answer, and then let the system learn and iterate over time. So that's the first part. The
Yeah.
second one I would say is guarding it, right? So
Hmm.
guarding it is all about privacy should
Hmm.
not be an afterthought. Privacy cannot be bolted on
Absolutely.
thought. Privacy has to be baked in right from the word go when you're designing your system, when you're designing your workflow, right? So you got to protect all of your data like it's a currency, like it's a financial system.
Absolutely.
And you cannot afford to have any sort of sensitive data, customer data that is, sensitive, shared with an LLM. You don't want to do that. So all the
Right.
data minimization principles, the privacy by design in terms of data encryption, all of that, right? The
Yeah.
role-based access, all of that kind of becomes a second bucket. And the third bucket, I would say, is governance, right? Or govern it, which is you are trying to govern all of those results based on its accuracy, based on its drift. Data drift could be happening over time. Your
Right.
ML models could be drifting over
Maybe
time.
interesting. Yeah.
right? So all of that, I think, so that's the ground it, guard it, and govern it part. And when I talk about the freshness, you're talking about, is the data up to date, right? Are you really,
Correct.
fetching data from the up to the minute information? And are you getting responses quickly? Is the fast part of it? And then if you're grounding all of those the outcomes based on your enterprise data sources, then are they faithful enough, right? So that's the
Absolutely.
3GF that I consider. And if it is not fresh, fast, and faithful, then in my opinion, it's not ready for your enterprise customers. You're better off not exposing, not launching it in massive scale until you get these things in order. That's how I see it.
Yeah, great framework, Manoj. This is where Protecto can help as well, right? When you talk about data privacy, data protection by design, many cases, the interesting use cases for AI, the biggest bottleneck they have is access to data. And when I say access to data, it's not the physical access. It means that compliance is clear, your privacy is by design is in place, your access controls are in place. So getting those controls in place is very critical to enable your enterprise data for AI use cases. Without these controls, your data can leak. You can get into compliance violation. You might risk your customers' privacy, and importantly, the trust factor. Right? Once you lose the trust of your customers or employees, whoever it is, then it is very hard to rebuild it. So that's where Protector helps in. So many of our use cases, what we enable our customers are when they are thinking AI, they are thinking of bringing sensitive data or enterprise data into it. We help with them. Our platforms helps them to address all these problems by design and specifically for AI. That's what we do. And excited to see that 3G frameworks is perfectly fits into what we do. In terms of the 3G and your F, we talked about, if I have to summarize, when you talk about AI native, you have to have that identifying the right use case or think about the right, not the identifying the right use case, think about it the right way. Instead of building more candles, do you want to build a neon light bulb, right? That thinking mindset. Then we talked about a stack, building a platform and building a culture, right? This is how you think about how do you enable AI into it. Once you identify and build your culture around it, how do you implement? That's where the 3G comes in, right? How do you govern it? How do you uh, govern it? How do you ground it, right? Grounding is for being factful, right? And also on the 3F side. So all these things in taking your ideas into productionalizing it and also making it scale, right? That's fantastic framework. This gives a very good overview, Manoj. Thank you. Really appreciate this one. In addition to this, you want any? I have a few more questions before I go there. Anything did I miss when I summarized your insights? Anything you missed? Anything you want to add? Feel free to jump in. We can spend a few minutes on that.
Yeah, and I think you summarized it really well, Amar. So I had, one more thing I would add to it is, like you rightly said, if you're forming an AI native team or you're trying to solve for the organization, one additional thought process to think about or apply would be how can you form squads with well-defined responsibilities, right? And the three common, you can refer to it as a squad or a pod. So the three common squads that I typically recommend is one is your product squad.
Hmm.
Um, so the product squad is that team comprising of the user experience expert, the product expert, and the AI product engineer who are trying to put together a scrappy MVP so that we are able to assess how that fits into the overall workflow and things like that. So that becomes the core responsibility of the product, squad. The second one I would say is the platform squad, right? So while the product squad is focused on the customer centric pain point to be solved, the platform squad is thinking about how do I build a reusable pipeline? How do I build a reusable eval harness mechanism that can be deployed or scaled for 10 different use cases done by 10 different product teams, right? There could be multiple product squads working on multiple different product pain points for the customers. So the platform squad is building the reusable pipelines, the reusable experimentation framework, the reusable governance model, and things like that, right? Data minimization, all of that. I think the platform squad could work on it and build it because that becomes a reusable asset for your organization. And the third one I would say is the ops squad, operations squad, because you have a lot of things with, let's say, there could be data labeling, there could be annotation, there could be data quality guarantees required, all of the KPIs and things like that that you want to scrutinize and monitor on a day in, day out basis, right? So each of those squads have well-defined responsibilities, and each of them can work in parallel, mutually exclusive, and together when each of them deliver a few outcomes, you're building a holistic foundation for your organization that will seamlessly thrive and increase your velocity
Absolutely.
for the
Yeah.
subsequent use case.
Yeah, reduces the rework because
Yeah.
your platform teams will build the platforms, your data teams will get the data ready, and your experimentation or the product teams experimenting. You need not wait for somebody, right? You will create the platform, you create the data. The same data can be used in different experimentation. Same platform can be used for which model, which guardrail, which governance. All those things can be reused for a product team to experiment. So yeah, it totally makes sense. So three independent tracks, each building your own thing, and at the enterprise scale, you can experiment AI fast, and you can deploy it across, truly democratize AI across your enterprise. Fantastic. This is a great discussion. I want to go take it little on the lighter side
Okay.
as we close this. First question for you: when will we see AGI, and are you looking forward to it?
Okay. Okay, that's a great question. Yeah, absolutely. I think I am looking forward to, AGI.
Uh,
And yeah, so let me also maybe, frame it as to what I'm thinking as AGI.
Please, AGI. Yeah, yeah,
Everybody has their own definition. I think AGI, I see it as a computer system that can learn and
yeah,
do most of the mental jobs that a smart human being can do across many
yeah.
different fields, not
Absolutely.
not just one task, right? So that's how
Right.
I see AGI. Now, what is stopping us from having an AGI today? In my opinion, I think the first grade or the primitive AGI systems that we are already seeing, I think are not cost effective, are
Mm.
quite power hungry in terms of GPU needs and everything, and needs a heavy amount of supervision, right? So
True.
I think so the AGI great systems have to mature to a higher level of maturity so that it can be commoditized is how I see it.
Yeah.
So I
Commoditized and autonomous as well, as you
yeah.
say it, right? Less interventions. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
So definitely
Mm.
excited because again, I see it as yet another means to amp up your productivity, right?
So true.
You could delegate all of the routine, mundane tasks to, AGI, just like how we do for AI, and hopefully we get to spend more of our valuable time on more meaningful problems that we want to
Absolutely.
solve in our lifetime, right?
So
So
true.
when do I expect to see it? I think late 2020s, maybe as we get closer to 2030, I think we'll start to see AGI
5 years.
functional.
That's what you're saying. Within another 5 years, you think, okay, interesting. So
And
it looks like the way you think about it, yeah, there are a bunch of AI pessimists and a bunch of AI optimists. You on the optimist camp, right? That AI is going to make our life a lot better. For sure, it's going to make life a lot better for sure. Fantastic. So let me go to another ask a question. What tool do you think that you wish you had today? AI tool that you wish you had today?
okay,
You
so
can
I
assume AGI or non-AGI up to you, but one tool you had, wish you had today.
so I think this is a wild one, and it
Uh-huh.
has some parallels with some of the work I used to do at Facebook. So
No.
I would love to have some kind of real-time fact checker. I think
Ah,
I think today the world kind of gets polarized
right.
with social media, with instant gratification, and with folks forming communities on these social medias,
Just
not knowing what is true, what is not true, right? And
true.
this is part of the challenge that we used to solve at Facebook with misinformation.
Right,
So I would love to see an near real time or an instantaneous fact checker
right.
that can tell you what is the truth and what is not the truth. And if we have it, I would probably try to use that for solving for hallucination as well.
Right, right. So it's a very interesting thing, Manoj. So obviously I use Twitter and X. So when I go to X, I nowadays use Grok a lot more, clicking on to find what is actually it's real or is it what is the fact behind this? Because people are having these extreme opinions, and they can even create videos supporting it, images supporting it. So you don't know what's real and not real. So an AI tool that can instantaneously remove the bias out of it and tell, hey, this is a fact, this is the interpretation, and this is the bias, right? So then we can look at the fact, and we can form our own opinion, of course, with our own bias, but at least I know what are the facts versus bias, right?
Yeah.
So very interesting. With that, I will have one final question, then we'll wrap it up. In terms of this AI, you're looks like you're an optimist. You're looking forward to an AGI. You worked on across all top names in the Valley. At what point did you think or realize this AI is a game changer, man? Is there any personal experience, or you saw a use case? You realize, man, this is a game changer. I haven't seen something like this in my past.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it was some of the work that we were doing back at Facebook.
Mhm.
Like I was explaining earlier, I think we were in the business of deploying hundreds of different machine learning models that would evaluate every single type of content that gets shared instantaneously to detect if that is any sort of suspicious content, or it is being shared out by a repeat offender, or if that is to gain the system to monetize targeting senior citizens and things like that, right? So our charter itself was to kind of solve for that, and for
Mhm.
me to kind of see the kind of impact it brings to our society, with misinformation, with the spread of misinformation, all of that was, I felt that was a true game changer. And I think because how in the world can you operate uh, content evaluation for 1.7 or 2 billion plus users in real time, and build the bells and whistles so that you're able to either reduce the distribution of suspicious content and things like that. I don't think it's that level of automation. I don't think can be done. And and the only way I saw it happening was AI/ML, and that was absolutely a game changer in my opinion. And one other thing, I think to your earlier point, Amar, the analogy that I typically use is, I think I am an eternal optimist when it comes to AI, right? And the way I kind of sell it, or the way I kind of think about it myself is, AI is absolutely here to do all the mundane. AI is here to lift the floor by
Right,
doing all of the routine or the mundane tasks for all of
right,
us, right?
right.
But it is going to take disciplined human leadership to raise the ceiling, right? And what I
Sure.
mean by raising the ceiling is, what are those value added, meaningful problems that
Right.
folks should solve for humanity as the next step, right?
So
So,
true.
so AI is enabling you to think about creatively about those bigger problems while it does
Right.
all the intern like work for for all of us, right?
Absolutely. Very important point, Manoj. Other day, Demis was talking about from Google, talking about how they reduced the protein folding problem by months and years to few weeks and hours. That's a change for humanity, and it's going to change how we consume medicine, how the diseases will be cured. Many things can be done, but the vision has to come from human, at least in the near term, right? What we are going to solve with this AI, right? I can take AI and create biases inside. That's one way of dealing with it. That's not raising the ceiling. but I can do something really big for the humanity, how people consume, how people learn, how people improve their lives. It can be a great change agent. Fantastic. Hey, this is a very insightful conversation, Manoj. We touched many topics from the personal side to on the enterprise AI. I'd love to have you back again. Thank you for your time. Thank you, listeners. It is a fantastic episode. We will post this on YouTube and, of course, on LinkedIn and X. Looking forward to the next episode. Thank you all. Thank you, Manoj.
And thank you, Amar, for having me. Yeah, look forward to the next conversation. Yeah.